Well, hello, once again. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings, to the WeAreChange daily broadcast where, where we shatter your reality and optimism for society with a slap of real news, or hopefully something you consider real news and not the crap that they give you everywhere else. So that's why, in this video, we are, of course, going to be talking about the Roy Moore scandal, Don Jr.'s tweets with Wikileaks, Amazon taking over the universe, and some more dumbass moves made by the U.S. military. Now, starting off, I definitely believe this story is being underreported because it's now not just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but a 6th person who has came out against former president and CIA head George H.W. Bush and are accusing him of sexually assaulting them. Allegedly groped a woman that was only 16 years old at the time. Now I get it, he's really old and the mainstream media still props him up like he's some kind of good guy, but in reality he's not, and there should be a lot more heat on him, not only for these latest actions, but all the illegal operations he conducted when he was the former head of the CIA. And in reality, if we had a just legal system, he would have been in jail. But hey, at least now, with everyone sharing and getting more attention on this story, he'll at least be known as a sexual abuser. But he still should be in jail. Moving forward, in other Republican sexual harassers, we of course have the latest news on Roy Moore that has literally become a national scandal, with one side saying he is an outright pedophile that dated and sexually abused young teenage girls when he was 30, and the other side saying, well, no, this is a complete conspiracy and cover-up against Roy so he doesn't win the Alabama Senate seat. Now, of course, we have 2 women coming out now against Roy Moore and his illegitimate contact with them, with Moore coming out saying that all of these allegations are completely false against him, with them just being desperate political attacks. But I do have to say, if you're one of these people that previously was calling out left-leaning figures like Harvey Weinstein and Kevin Spacey for their sexual abuse and allegations before, and now with this Roy Moore scandal, you're saying, wait, let's look at the evidence, you're a hypocrite. Now, of course, there are people who are falsely accused. There are conspiracies in Washington, D.C., but I have to be honest with you guys. After Roy Moore's interview with Sean Hannity, where he pretty much verbally gave the shoulder shrug to even going out with a 14-year-old and other underage women when he was 30, it doesn't look that good for him. Establishment bootlicker Mitt Romney blasted away against Roy Moore. The RNC officially pulled their financial support behind him. And now even Sean Hannity himself is calling for Roy Moore to drop out of the Senate race after he just gave him 24 hours to clear up inconsistencies in his own story. And again, I think this story is very clear, unless Roy Moore is purposefully shooting himself in the foot when he specifically says he may have gone on a date with a teenager when he was 30. And for me, the case is pretty clear. Let me know if you think I'm wrong in the comment section below. And now, in other terrible child abusing news, we have the mainstream media finally paying attention to an issue I've been talking about for a very long time. And that's a series of YouTube videos that exploit children and prey on them through YouTube, creating a controversy known as ElsaGate. And while I've been talking about this, YouTube decides to make their #1 priority not these kinds of videos, not even radical Islamic terrorist videos, but videos by independent creators like me, Black Pigeon Speaks, a whole series of other people who point out their hypocrisy. Meanwhile, they waste their resources trying to take us down. Just frustrating, but at least this issue is finally getting some mainstream media attention. In other related news, we have George Takei, another actor who has been accused of sexually assaulting people, recently come out and blamed Russia for spreading the sexual assault accusations against him. Yeah. That's where we're at right now. The whole Russia defense worked great for the DNC and Hillary Clinton, but for some reason, I don't think it's going to work this time. And the stories just keep pouring in, making it very hard to keep up with all the sexual abuse allegations happening not only in Hollywood, but Washington, D.C. And as we said before in this broadcast, this is only the beginning. And even George Apatow said the same thing recently, saying that a lot more are coming and that this is only just the beginning, which of course we're going to be following very closely on this YouTube channel, because what we're talking about is very real. It's very disturbing. It gets a lot more deeper than we think, and the only real way to get justice is to focus in our attention on this and make this an issue, since police departments, mainstream media figures, political figures have all been covering up these bigger crimes that are happening. And there definitely isn't justice right now, as Rose McGowan just turned herself in for an arrest for alleged residue of narcotics that was found on a lost item in the Washington Dulles International Airport earlier this year. Class 5 felony against McGowan, one of the original whistleblowers, one of the original people who started coming out about the sexual abuse and predator problem that has been happening in Washington, D.C., while literally her abusers are still walking free. That's messed up. And just a little segue here. Did you know that according to conservative estimates, since 1950, the Vatican has spent $3.9 billion settling child molestation and pedophile cases by priests? It literally feels like the whole world is upside down sometimes. And now in other horrible financial use of money news, there's a new report documenting how the war on terror has cost $8 trillion in interest, as the United States, of course, has been borrowing money in order to pay for, war, destruction, drones, arming terrorists, and other horrible things. And with Donald Trump's aggressive foreign policy and expanding military budgets, we could expect that debt, that servitude, that interest, only to get higher. And hell, if you're going to be spending all that money, why not just give it to an evil corporation like Amazon? As the House is now voting on giving Amazon $53 billion in a deal to become its main Pentagon supplier. And that's a dumbass move, since Amazon is already a very powerful megacorporation because of government handouts. And as this article eloquently puts it, quote, friendly reminder that Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, is still trying to take over the universe. He not only owns the Washington Post and is expanding his influence, he does CIA contracts, but his company is working on quantum computing, AI computing, and Jeff Bezos is really the individual to look at the futuristic technocratic state that most likely will be ruled by him and other mega corporate tech giants in the future. And in more dumbass moves by the military-industrial complex, we are getting news now that the U.S. Army will be taking applicants with histories of mental illness, drug abuse, and self-mutilation, mainly because of low Army signups, and also the struggle to meet Donald Trump's goal of recruiting 80,000 new soldiers. And I don't know about you, but taking in people that have mental issues and are previous drug abusers and training them to be professional killers, that's not a good idea. But hey, we have to be strong and fight for freedom, right? No, just cause more human suffering, like the millions of victims who are suffering right now in direct connection to U.S. participation and support of Saudi Arabia and their massive genocide that is happening in Yemen right now, which we covered before and said that this should be the most important story in the world, and yet it's still not. And now we're getting an update on this news report about how Saudi Arabia will now finally open up some of the ports to humanitarian aid to finally be delivered to Yemen. But there's a catch. The aid will only be delivered to some parts of Yemen that are loyal to Saudi Arabia and the Sunni Wahhabist Al-Qaeda linked groups fighting the Houthis right now, and totally disregard northern Yemen, which has been the main target of UK, US, Saudi Arabian bombings and attacks against the Houthi Iranian-linked rebels. And now in other war on terror that's bankrupting this country news, we have a large show of force by the US military that just for the first time in a decade put 3 US aircraft carriers right next to North Korea in an ongoing saber-rattling show of force battle between the United States and North Korea that I really don't see going anywhere, especially since China declared that they will intervene and stop America if it attacks North Korea, and would only stay neutral if North Korea attacks the United States first. Now, of course, there's been a lot of fear-mongering about the possibility of war between the United States and North Korea, but I do have to say honestly, I don't see this conflict going anywhere and remaining a stalemate for a very long time. Again, that's just my analysis. If you think I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section below. And now, how else is the United States getting into more debt with this war on terror? Well, they're making deals with ISIS. Now, we actually reported on this to you weeks ago on this very channel, but now an official report by the BBC confirmed our initial report of how the United States and Syrian Defense Forces knowingly aided thousands of ISIS fighters by allowing them free passage out of Raqqa and allowing them to regroup in other strongholds, where they would directly go against the Syrian government, Hezbollah, Iranian, and Russian soldiers and still continue to fight. Now, of course, with the US help, ISIS is still being defeated in its major strongholds. But don't worry, we still have another potential conflict in Lebanon with Saudi Arabia. And another great news for the military-industrial complex, we're also expanding the war on terror to Africa. Nice. That should keep the stock markets high, or really just artificially inflated with more debt, borrowing more money and destroying this country internally. Meanwhile, the authorities who are supposed to stop the terrorists that were influenced, financed, and funded by our very own tax dollars are now going after offensive Facebook and Twitter posts, especially in the United Kingdom, where over 625 people were arrested for simply making offensive posts. Welcome to the Orwellian Big Brother police state that we all live under. And last, in other gossipy news, we have the DMs of Donald Trump Jr. leaked between him and Wikileaks, exposing their secret correspondence, where Wikileaks made an effort to work with the Trump campaign, asked them to comment about the stories that they released, asked the Trump campaign to release Donald Trump's tax returns to Wikileaks so they could publish them and look unbiased to the general public, telling Donald Trump Jr. that he should not concede the election if his father loses, and even tried to arrange for Julian Assange to be Australia's ambassador to the United States. Now, Donald Trump Jr. actually released these DMs to the general public through his Twitter account, and honestly, there is a lot of mainstream media buzz, but what this ultimately shows you is an eager WikiLeaks and Julian Assange with really no bigger implications for Donald Trump Jr. Julian Assange actually decided to double down on his request of the Trump administration, saying that his offer of being ambassador still stands, and that he can open up a hotel-style embassy in DC with immunity suites for whistleblowers that would, quote, turbocharge the flow of intel about the latest CIA plots to undermine democracy. Other than that, I don't really see this as a big story, but it is interesting to see how eager WikiLeaks was, understandably, to work with the Trump administration. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below, of course. If you found this video or the information contained with it important, share it with the people who you think are deprived of that specific information. A big, huge thanks to everyone supporting us on wearechange.org/donate. With your contributions keeping us fully free and independent. And yeah, stay tuned for more because we're not going anyway because we have you. And that's why I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching.